On October 5th, 2025 at 1:13 a.m., the Huber Heights Police Department was dispatched to the area of eastbound Interstate 70 between State Route 201 and 202, which is also Grant Pike and Old Troy Pike, for an injury crash. Upon arrival, they located a crash scene involving multiple vehicles. The Huber Heights Police Department contacted the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and requested assistance from our Traffic Services Unit, who investigates traffic crash throughout the Montgomery County. Preliminary investigation indicates that a 2016 Chevy Tahoe being operated by a 55-year-old man entered Interstate 70 at State Route 201 traveling up the eastbound exit ramp. The Tahoe then entered the eastbound flow of traffic traveling westbound. So he's going head on into traffic that is traveling eastbound on Interstate 70. The first vehicle that the Tahoe came in contact with was a 2019 Honda Accord, being operated by a 25-year-old male that was traveling eastbound and was preparing to exit off of Interstate 70 to State Route 201. The driver of the Honda attempted to avoid the crash by changing lanes, but the Chevy Tahoe changed lanes and collided with the front of the Honda and then the rear of the Honda, causing the Honda to spin out of control and hit the concrete barrier. The driver of the Honda Accord and his adult passenger sustained minor injuries and were released from the scene without any medical treatment. The Chevy Tahoe then continued to travel westbound for approximately half a mile, where it collided with a 2020 Chevy Trax that was traveling eastbound in the left lane. The Chevy Trax was operated by a young adult female and had a young adult male as the passenger. This crash was catastrophic, as it was a head-on impact at a high rate of speed, and it caused the tracks to catch fire almost immediately. The driver of the Chevy Trax and her adult passenger were both pronounced deceased at the scene. Immediately after colliding with the Trax, the Chevy Tahoe then crashed into a second vehicle in the same lane, a 2013 Chevy Malibu being operated by a 33-year-old male. The driver of the Chevy Malibu was removed from the scene by Huber Heights medics and was transported to Miami Valley Hospital with serious injuries. As of last check, he is still in critical condition at the hospital. The Chevy Tahoe finally came to rest near the concrete barrier dividing the east and westbound of Interstate 70. The at-fault driver, a 55-year-old male, was pronounced deceased at the scene. So a little bit more than what we initially sent out with the original press release is that this crash is being investigated thoroughly. It is our job to go back 8 to 10 hours to determine everything that took place that led up to this fatal crash. At this point in the investigation, based on social media posts and video evidence, we have been able to track the at-fault driver to a local bar prior to the crash. We're in the process of tracking down anybody that was at the bar with the at-fault driver to determine his actions, behavior, and state of mind leading up to the crash. We are also continuing to interview witnesses that have come forward or called in that witnessed the crash. And if there's anybody else that saw the crash that was on Interstate 70 when the crash occurred, either right before or right after, we're asking them to call our regional dispatch center at 225-HELP because we want to talk to them. At this time, we do have the ODOT cameras in our possession, and we're in the process of reviewing those to see if the video picked up any of the crash on that. So right now, I'm going to kind of open it up to any questions you may have of myself, Huber Heights Police Department. And again, like I said, there is just some things that we're not going to be able to go into great detail about, either because of the investigation or out of respect for the family, that we just don't feel comfortable doing right now.
Do you have any indication, and you talk about you continue to look more into the at-fault driver, but any indication, frame of mind, that he might have told anyone in his family, his circle of friends, acquaintances, that he had planned to do this?
Right. So right now at this time, we don't have that, but that investigation continues. But we also have all the 911 calls where I think we do have at least one witness that says they tried to change lanes and they felt that that driver was changing with them and coming at them intentionally. So right now in this investigation, nothing is being ruled out.
You mentioned that he was potentially at a bar and for people to reach out if they were there. Are you going to say what city or?
So we're not going to do it right now. At some of the information's gotten out where who they think it is, so if someone was involved, we're asking. But right now we have investigators that are going to these local facilities that are pulling cameras and things like that. So once that gets a little bit further in this investigation, we will most likely release that and ask anybody that was there to contact us. So that's forthcoming.
Are you comfortable releasing the names of the three people you had that were deceased in this crash?
We're not right now because, again, out of respect for the family, and we still have the coroner's office doing their investigation, and while we are pretty sure we know who they are, there's not been 100% identifying on any of these folks, so we're just kind of leaving that be, and plus that is the coroner's responsibility to do, so we're going to allow them to do that.
When you said it's high-speed crash, are you estimating, I mean, are we talking about like 140 mile an hour closing speed there with 70 miles an hour from each vehicle?
So I think it's safe to say, at least this far, we believe that the at-fault driver is probably going about 80 miles per hour. But understand that's 80 miles per hour going the wrong way. With somebody else, if they are doing the speed limit, what is it, 70? 65 up there, you can imagine the change in energy and change in force when you get hit head on by that. It's going to be a fatal every single time.
And your feeling is that the impact injuries are probably what took these lives?
I don't even want to speculate on that because, again, that's for the coroner to determine. But again, all of us up here have been doing this for many years. I can tell you that, and this is probably one of the worst crashes that I have seen in my time of being a law enforcement officer.
As this investigation goes, will you go back? I know you said you've gone back 8 to 10 hours about, but will you comb through even more social media if it looks like there may be mental health issues, suicide might have been a possibility for the person that was at fault?
Again, this is going to be a thorough investigation. When our crash team goes out and investigates, like many crash teams, they're not just going to go out and measure the crash scene itself. They're going to go back and kind of dig into the history, interview people, do social media warrants, all the things that they need to do to see, again, what was his behavior leading up to this? What was his state of mind? Were there things that were said to folks or posted online? We want to know all that kind of stuff, and I think the family deserves that too. So we're going to continue to go down all those.
Can you also confirm the 2 cars that were actually on fire?
Right. It would have been the Chevy Trax and then the Malibu that was directly behind were the 2 that actually caught on fire.
So the Tahoe was not?
The Tahoe was not on fire, but what I can tell you, again, seeing this scene, seeing the photographs from this scene, we are talking about a mile and a half or longer of a debris field with 2 cars completely engulfed, 1 car that is disabled, and the Tahoe that is in half up there that just didn't catch on fire. And then we're talking about engines and transmission sitting on the highway in lanes of travel. So when I say this is a catastrophic event, there is, I don't know how else to explain it. When you have veteran officers that have been on for a long time that go up there and they're kind of taken back by just the sheer volume of evidence that was up there and how big it was and how long it was and the amount of devastation. And then on top of that, we have the fatalities to deal with. So it was that's a rough night.
Are you, given that you have engine parts and flying from that regional collision, are you somewhat surprised that only one other vehicle was caught up in this?
Actually, again, I think we got time of day. We're talking a little bit after 1 o'clock in the morning, so it's not, if this was something that happened at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the carnage could have been horrible. There's just no doubt about that.
You also
Hold on 1 second, she had it.
I was just wondering how we can let people know, like, with no specifics, who should be reaching out to you? Like, people who think,
Yeah.
oh, I saw a guy who was very good. Okay, just wanted to.
Well, the first thing is we want is make sure that if anybody was on Interstate 70 between Old Troy Pike and Brant Pike, or anybody that was on Brant Pike, let's just say from 1 o'clock to about 1:20, where we know the crash was already over, is to contact us if they saw a Chevy truck that was driving erratically, doing anything. Again, this is just us trying to go back and piece everything together that led up to this crash to figure out why it occurred.
when you said the 55-year-old left a bar, I mean, was there any indication so far in your investigation that he was inebriated at the time?
Again, we're looking at video, so seeing video, a lot of that will come with the tox that comes from the coroner's office.
And can you talk at all about the person who was in the Malibu, because that car was on fire? There are 911 calls that indicate that someone had gotten out of their car still on fire. Can you corroborate that at all?
Of the Malibu?
Yes, of the
Yeah,
Malibu.
the Malibu did, the driver of the Malibu was out of the vehicle, was able to be transported to the hospital, but is still currently in critical condition.
And to your knowledge, that driver was out of the vehicle when rescue crews or even law enforcement
I'll have
arrived?
you explain. I think he was.
We believe he was, yes.
Yeah, he does have partial burns and a couple other injuries on him.
And around, how many hours was 70 eastbound closed then? So it was closed right at like 75, right?
So yeah, it was closed between Old Troy. It probably before that because they were trying to route people off, but the initial closure was just before Old Troy Pike and all the way up to Grant Pike on both sides. And that shutdown started right when the accident happened. So we're talking about 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:15 in the morning, and it went through till what, 10:30?
Probably closer to
Noon.
Noon. Yeah. So you gotta also understand. So we have not only the vehicles we got to remove. Now we got to figure out a way to get engines off of the ground and up and get that evidence moved. And then we're going to have our technicians coming after that to photograph everything and start seeing where we're seeing markings in the highway. That's evidence to us to let us know where certain collisions happen, how fast they could be going, what part of the car actually collided, so we can kind of start piecing everything together. So even once the scene's safe and all the vehicles are removed, we have to then come back and start marking all that evidence in the roadway and categorizing that the whole time they're up there.
And I guess I didn't realize that you closed westbound lanes for at least a brief time right after this happened.
We did not close
Yeah.
westbound
No,
lanes. Just the
No
eastbound.
westbound lanes,
Westbound,
okay, just
yeah.
all east.
Eastbound lane. Did I say, if I said westbound, I
You didn't
misspoke.
have
So.
any debris go over that barrier wall?
No, the closest thing we had was the actual Tahoe, the at-fault
just-
driver that came into the barrier. That's where he final rest.
And just any final message to the families that are going through this tragedy?
Again, this is one of those things that we're dealing with loss of life. There's families that are just crushed right now. They're dealing with this horrific accident, and what I can also tell you is we had first responders that were on the scene that are having a hard time dealing with that. So from the Sheriff's Office, the Huber Heights Police Department, to all those families that are affected by this, our hearts and prayers go out to them 100%. I mean, this should have never happened. And it's just one of those things that unfortunately we're seeing more and more often. And it's just one of those things that it happens very limited number of times, but it's a high number of a fatality when it does. So this is just unfortunate for everybody involved.
I've seen on social media people in comment sections saying like, why can't they put something, I don't know what they're called, that would pop your tires if you try to go the wrong way.
Again, there's probably a 1,000 things that are out there. We have now on some highways that it has an alert system and things like that, but you also understand he goes up the interstate and literally under a minute is involved in the first crash. Under 30 seconds involved in the first crash. So those things are great to have. They're not going to, unless it's a barrier that shoots straight up and now we got to worry about someone coming off an interstate and hitting it too. It's not as easy as it looks to be able to stop that and not cause some type of other damage, because now you have a car sitting with someone coming off an interstate that's probably not prepared for a car to be disabled right in the middle of the exit ramp.
You're not releasing the name of the at-fault driver yet, but I'm guessing you guys know who.
We do.
I think you know who it is.
Mhm.
Any past history with that person with local law enforcement?
There's past history, but it's minor. It's traffic stuff. There's no DUIs. There's no criminal that I've seen to this point. But again, this is very early on that we've seen that would indicate that.
That's all I have.
I just want, if the lieutenant has anything to say for on behalf of your rights, just.
Nothing involved in the crash. I mean, also we do want to extend our thanks and gratitude to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office for coming out at 1:13 in the morning and helping us with the carnage and the scene that was already described. Helped our guys out a lot.